Hey man, what it is? This is Damon. I am your host, and this is By Any Means. There go the Cash App. Hit that Cash App. Y'all know YouTube taking 66%. There go that PayPal at Dame by any means. Y'all see that heart with the dollar sign? You can press that at any time your heart desire. That's the super chat. Please say it with me, y'all. I don't care if you leave $1, $10, $1,000. It is much, much, much appreciated. David Morrell is an absolute phenom. David Morrell, I am so proud of this young man. Even though he lost, he ain't lose. David Morrell is the prime example about why B-side fighters need to act like B-side fighters and take the opportunity when presented, because you might catapult yourself. Ever since Pitbull Cruz and Fort Javante, everybody and their mom want to fight Pitbull Cruz, and he getting all of these opportunities. I'm just saying, look at Rolly and Ryan. Please stop me. Somebody, please stop me when I am lying. David Morrell, man, is an absolute phenom. David Morrell lost against David Benavidez in a hard-fought fight. And to be honest, David Morrell had the better moments in the fight. Yeah, David Benavidez was more consistent in the fight. David Morrell had the moments in the fight. David Morrell had Benavidez hurt a couple times. I believe Benavidez had him hurt as well, but not the way David Morrell had him hurt. I believe that David Morrell, he should have got on his bike a little bit more, but I understand the heart that David Morrell, like, nah, I'm going to go in here and fight this guy because I don't want to tire myself out and get knocked out. So I truly believe that he understood what he was up against the monster, and was trying to apply a bend but don't break mentality, like how teams do in the NFL when they play cover four. A bend but don't break. And then when I get my opportunities, I'm going to take advantage. I believe that David Morrell dropped the ball a little bit in the middle of the fight. He should have stepped on the gas, but David Benavidez is an amazing fighter with a heart and a chin, and he gonna fight back, and he ain't just going out. I believe David Morrell could have probably knocked David Benavidez out in that fight, but he would have had to take a major risk on getting knocked out, and he didn't. And that's where the experience comes in. When you got a guy wounded, when you got a guy looking like he's wearing down a little bit, you got to turn the pressure up. You can't glide through and still fight the way. You can't look at him as if he's still a fresh fighter, as you did in the first, second, third round. That's how he was losing the fight. If David Morrell would have did what he was doing at the end of that fight, he could have won this fight. I had to fight 7-5, 8-4 David Benavidez, but it could have easily swung the other way around because there was a couple swing rounds in there. I'm so proud of David Morrell. He lost, but he ain't lose. He showed his power is real. He showed his footwork is real. He showed his speed is real. He showed his chin is real, and how he lost, but he ain't lose. You walked out of that fight watching both of those young men go to war. And just tell me in the comments if you believe this or not. When after the fight was over, if this didn't go through your mind, Canelo can't beat neither one of them. But Beterbiev, Bivol, they all got a lot on their hands dealing with both of those young men. And then now, just think about what this does for David Morrell. His first big opportunity is against the monster. Like, think about that, y'all. Look at what Floyd did for Canelo, but Canelo had way more experience. Look at every other fighter, y'all. To get a fight of this magnitude, it happens much later, or they got much, much more experience. Not in David Morrell's situation. David Benavidez created a monster. The monster created a monster. Because think about it, if you David Morrell, you're not going backwards now. I fought David Benavidez. The rest of you guys aren't. You're water off a duck's back. You left that fight knowing that nobody at 168 can beat him. And even though he lost to David Benavidez, he might still be the second in that best in that division, or third or fourth behind Bivol and Beterbiev, which is not a bad thing to be behind when you have way less experience than them in a professional level and way less opportunities than they have had. And I believe that David Morrell learned the valuable lesson is You can't not take off no round, but you gotta be the aggressor the whole time. When you are fighting a guy of David Benavidez magnitude, you gotta go balls to the wall and put yourself at risk of getting knocked out. I hate to say it like that, but trying to be cautious. Yeah, David Benavidez, you let him get his win back. You let him get out of being hurt. That's not, no, you can't do that against somebody like him. He's a dog. He's a dirty dog. That's what David Benavidez is. They don't call him the monster for nothing. You gotta slay the monster. You can stab him up. You watch Michael Myers. You've watched Jason. You can have him down. You gotta keep him down. And I believe David Benavidez was trying to do the same thing, and he couldn't accomplish their goal. And I'm just so proud of these two young men. David Morrell is a class act. David Morrell showed that he wasn't a hype job, that he wasn't over. He actually was one of the fighters that we see that get an opportunity like that and prevail. He walked out of there. He lost the fight, but he walked out of there a winner. David Morrell has nothing to be embarrassed about. David Morrell has nothing to hold his head down about. David Morrell, I truly believe that if they fight again in a couple years, David Morrell might get him this time. He has a way better chance with more experience and that confidence of already being in there with David, as close as the fight was. See, sometimes, y'all, a guy can, I think David Benavidez won the fight clearly. But even in winning clearly, there's times where you won clearly, but it wasn't clear. Well, Dane, what you mean? David Benavidez won the fight clear, but it was tooth and nail though. Like, yeah, he won, but he almost got dropped. He did get dropped, which I don't think was a drop. But I mean, y'all gave Lamont Roach that drop against Hector Luis Garcia, so I don't see how that couldn't stand. But whatever. But you could clearly see that David Benavidez was worried about David Morrell's power. You could see it taking an effect. And what I mean by that, y'all, where it could be clear but not clear. David Morrell, look at both of the fighters' faces after the fight. David Benavidez's face, they about the same skin complexion. David Benavidez's face looked way worse than David Morrell's. So he didn't even take the most punishment in the fight when he was fighting a guy. He didn't even take the most punishment in it. But he did win the fight. David Benavidez did every single thing that he needed to do in order to win that fight. So got to get your hats off to both fighters, man. I just think that David Morrell put himself, he made himself a star. I think people are wanting to see David Morrell much more. He made himself a household name after that fight. And that's all you can ask for as a guy that's on his level right now. That's all you can ask for. Because, I want y'all to understand, David Morrell fighting David Benavidez is like what Kid Austin is doing with Shakur Stevenson, but not even as much risk, because Shakur Stevenson is not a knockout artist. So this is why I got to give Floyd Schofield all the credit in the world. And y'all, Floyd Schofield has more experience on the professional level and has more fights than David Morrell. I want y'all to think about that. Kid Austin has more fights than David Morrell. I want y'all to really think about that. Yeah, he's younger and all that. That's cool. But he has more professional fights than David Morrell. So all of the credit we get, that's like Kid Austin go in there and lose to Shakur. But Shakur wins. Shakur wins the fight. But it was a war. That does more for Kid Austin than it does for Shakur Stevenson. Absolutely. In this rare instance, it did great for both fighters, because the way David Benavidez won is what catapulted him. And then the way that David Morrell fought in that loss catapulted him. So he lost, but he walked out a winner. And that's all you can ask for in the sport of boxing. These guys gave us what they wanted, gave us what we wanted. And like I said, man, I'm proud of David Morrell, man. He did everything he set to do. I think he learned the hard lesson of, I gotta go in for the kill. I got it. Any sign of weakness, I have to attack when I'm fighting a guy of that magnitude. Or I'm not going to win. Or I'm not going to win at all. So y'all already know what this is, though, right? Deem by any means. And I holla at y'all.